Good evening. Illegal migrants are being baptised in bathtubs in migrant hotels, and I think they're doing it so that they can claim asylum in Britain. According to The Telegraph, a Christian charity is going into migrant hotels, dunking blokes from the Middle East in some bathwater, and that means they can say that if we sent them home to places like Iran, they'd face persecution. Here's one of them. He's getting a really good dunking. How much do you want to bet that that bloke never sets foot inside a church? I mean, for bleeding heart lefties who think this is an isolated example, it's not. Afghan acid attacker Abdul Azidi converted to Christianity, allegedly. He was allowed to stay in Britain despite being a registered sex offender. He then doused a woman and child in acid and threw himself off a bridge. Now, what did this good Christian man do for a funeral? Oh yeah, he had a Muslim burial ceremony. This Iraqi guy pretended to convert to Christianity. Oh yeah, he just blew himself up outside Liverpool Maternity Hospital. A Bangladeshi man who had served 12 years in prison for murdering his wife successfully appealed against the Home Office's attempts to deport him, saying that he was a Christian convert and that he would be at risk in his predominantly Muslim country in Bangladesh. The length some people go to is absolutely extraordinary. One Iranian man was sentenced to 18 months for assault. He was going to be deported, so he got a load of Christian tattoos, and a judge let him stay even though he didn't believe he was actually a Christian. Another Iranian man was sentenced to 7.5 years for sexual assault. He got a tattoo of a crucifix and was, allowed to stay in Britain because, of course, how could we deport a man like that? An Iranian man was sentenced to 10 years in jail for drug dealing offences. A judge granted him the right to remain in the UK despite describing his claim to have converted to Christianity as, quotes, insincere. So we're letting them stay, even if the judges think they're lying to them. A Pakistani man failed an asylum claim. He started preaching the Bible on the streets. He found a reverend who had never met him before to vouch for him, and then he was allowed to stay in Britain, despite the judge acknowledging that he hadn't started being a Christian preacher until after he'd already been scheduled for deportation. Sometimes they're made to complete Christianity tests, and when they fail them, they're still allowed to stay anyway. So an Iranian man who was sentenced to 4 years in jail for drug and driving offences and resisting arrest managed to get his deportation order overturned, despite referring to Black Friday rather than Good Friday and getting the denomination of his church wrong. One bloke, this is my favourite, one bloke who claimed to be a Christian had accidentally been going to a synagogue for months. Yeah. I mean, there is a great big Christianity con going on here. I actually find it personally offensive that people are not just abusing our country and our tax money and our hospitality, but also our national religion. You combine that story with this as well today. A Nigerian bloke pretended to be a woman and worked in the NHS for months. He was fined a couple of £100, he wasn't sent to prison, and he won't be deported. And just have a little look at this, will you? 80.4% of social housing in one area of Leicester is occupied by foreign nationals. There's loads of examples of that taking place, by the way. So we're paying for all of that housing for foreign nationals. We are being rinsed. Those Christian migrant hotel converters and gullible church leaders need to have a long, hard look at themselves. As I think, anyway, they are making it easier for illegal migrants to stay in Britain. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. And we've got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone. We have also got trade unionist Andy Twelves and Reform member, former Tory party chairman, Sir Jake Berry. There is a clip that we played in the intro there of one of these baptisms taking place in a bath in a migrant hotel. So we'll bring that up in a minute or two. But Carol, your initial reaction to people being converted to Christianity to stay in Britain?
Well, I mean, this is a very weird sect, because they're not Christians. They're called, what are they called? The Christadelphilians or something. There's only 50,000 in the entire world. Well,
there's more now.
Well, there's about 10 more this week. But this is just another way to scam and exploit our system. And, you know, we can all see through it here. We're laughing. But what you just explained in your intro there is basically that no migrant is going to be deported for anything in this country. It's probably even a waste of their time actually converted, because it doesn't matter. If your kid doesn't like chicken nuggets, you don't get deported anyway. But I mean, the guy, one of the guys who's a volunteer in this faith, said today he had social media posts on of these baptisms. He's now got rid of them. He was asked about whether he believed these people were sincere in their conversion. And he said, well, I'm not going to get into whether they're sincere or not. So he doesn't give a stuff if his religion's been exploited either. And what we didn't know, do we know whether they're charging for these baptisms, this church? Do we know
Well, I very much
that?
doubt it because they're a charity, aren't they? So, I mean,
How do charities function without money? So it would just be interesting to know if they're charging people this. But this has clearly come from all these human rights lawyers who've just found yet another way to let even more people
that, and
stay.
especially the tattoos, isn't it? It's like, look, you're on your way out. You're back to Tehran in the morning, but if you get a sleeve of if you get Jesus's face tattooed on your forearm, just let's have a little look at these migrant hotel baptisms. Then here you go. Brace yourselves, everybody.
You believe the things about Jesus and
Yes.
the kingdom of God? Can I baptise you in the name of the Lord Jesus?
Yes.
There he is, just curled up in quite a grubby migrant hotel bathtub there, converting
They have to be fully covered with water.
Wow, and we're going to need a bigger bathtub, aren't we?
For him, yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, what I found extraordinary is the guy, Carol says, works for a slightly odd charity, said if you lie down in a bath, that means you're Christian. I wonder how many people have accidentally converted on a sort of having a good soak in the tub. But there is a serious point about this. You talked about Abdulaziz and the Liverpool bomber. Yeah. You know, there is obviously... We live in a world where all of the people who are migrants here in the UK, many of them are given mobile phones, they look at things on the internet, they communicate with each other. There is obviously now almost an industrial industry where they communicate with each other and say, look, this is what you need to say to be allowed to stay, whether that's you say you're gay, you're trans, you're a child, people pretending to be children, and now this mass conversion to Christianity. And what made those two previous conversions, Abdulaziz and the Liverpool Women's Hospital bomber, really interesting is they were converted by the Church of England. Yeah. And people at the time came out and criticised our national church, our established church here in the United Kingdom, the Church of England. And the critics, the whistleblowers within the Church of England were shouted down by the Archbishop of Canterbury, you think he's still just holding on, Justin Welby, and the Archbishop of York, who were standing up at the time in the House of Lords, using their positions in the House of Lords to say that the government was cruel for wanting to control our borders. So the charity, all well and good, but what I really think is the issue is our established church playing along with it. That cannot be right.
Yeah, but it's right across the board. I mean, Abdulaziz was baptised by some random, it turns out, all joking aside, a Baptist denomination. Swalmeen, I think, was Church of England. Yeah. He's the Liverpool bomber. And these guys are this Christian sect. I mean, just anecdotally, I used to live in Maidenhead. There was a church at the end of my road that I used to go to, and just further down the road was a Holiday Inn full of illegal migrants. And every single Sunday, there was a load of illegal migrants from places like Iran at the back of the church. And I just remember thinking, well, this is the kind of game that they appear to be playing. Andy, what do you make of this? I mean, it just appear like again, it's another attempt to game the system. I mean, the judges are even saying when they don't believe that they're actually Christian, they're still letting them stay in Britain just in case.
Yeah, I think, obviously, this is wrong. I don't think there's going to be any Ofcom balance on anyone saying that this is the right thing to do. I think there should be the protections in place for genuine religious persecution, as everyone on this panel, I think, would agree with. But, we need to make sure it's not being exploited. I think it's really bold. You've got Chris Philp, the shadow Home Secretary, Tory party man, minister for a few years when they were in government. And he's going, no, I'm outraged this has happened.
Well, he didn't do anything about it, though, did he?
When he was in government, the Tory party saying they're going to abolish all these things, they're going to change all these things, as if this wasn't going on when they were in power. So I do struggle with some of the commentary on I think this was in the Telegraph. I just don't understand how they got the brass neck to do it.
But we have to get tough, don't we? We've got to make it so that migrants they shouldn't be able to claim asylum on religious grounds, because once you have that in place, they're all going to claim it on religious grounds.
Correct.
They give them an inch and then take a mile. I just don't think we should be getting into granting anyone asylum on the grounds of their religion, because
isn't the fundamental problem is these individuals who are claiming asylum are in our country for too long. They should be detained on the beach in Dover. They should be taken to a detention centre and should be processed quickly. Before you say the Conservatives didn't do it, that's one of the reasons I'm no longer a Conservative. But this government, which had the plan to smash the gangs and was going to do all these sort of things, it hasn't happened. I don't want to pay for people to be in hotels. I don't think anyone does, actually. These people should not be in our country. We need to remove them quickly to stop this sort of fake Christianity, fake being gay, fake being trans. They should not be here.
I actually do think it is offensive that the religion of Christianity is being used as a way of gaming the asylum. I mean, I actually do think there is for all the joking about the bloke that kept turning up to a synagogue thinking that it was a church and he got found out when he was asked to point it out on a map, and they're like, sorry, you've actually been Jewish for a month. You know, you've not been Christian at all. But there is a serious point there. I do find it quite personally offensive about that. And there are a couple of other points that I raised in there, which is a wider picture, Andy, of just how ridiculous our immigration system as a whole is at the minute. You've got the bloke who turned up to a hospital to work there for a period of time, pretending to be a woman with a badge with her picture on it, and no one questioned. He was basically cleaning patients.
That's a question for the NHS managers. I fear if you're checking in every day at the security desk, checking in for your payroll, and you go, oh, your name's not Melanie or whatever it is. You know,
the point there is that we're not deporting him, and he's not been sent to prison.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he should be sent to prison. I think he should certainly be disciplined for it. I mean, I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer.
He should be, because he was treating people in the National Health Service.
He wasn't treating people. I think it was a poor job.
He was caring for them.
He was a nurse. He was a nurse.
That is bad then.
He should be sent to prison.
I thought he was being a poor job.
Every time I go into a building with a pass and it's just like run out or something, I get stopped and questioned a million times, even though the people say me every day.
You look suspicious.
And yet this bloke, but then this bloke, he's posing as a different gender.
It's ridiculous.
And he gets let in. It's a joke. But the bottom line is, and you said it in your intro, it doesn't matter what you do in this country, whether you're a paedophile, whether you hurt people, whether you're a robber, whether you're a rapist, you get to stay.
But there was another story doing the rounds.
Yes.
Right, and this was about Labour Police and Crime Commissioners. 3
Labour Police and Crime Commissioners in this country. It's Durham, Northumbria and Cleveland. They brought out this ludicrous leaflet, which is they say they're dispelling the myths about migrants. A joke. Everything they say on this leaflet is a lie. Basically, they're saying that migrants give more than they take. It's a lie. They're saying that crime is not higher because of migrants. It's a lie. We can disprove that. I mean, I could name 3 newspaper investigations right now from the Mail, from the Times and from the Sun that say exactly, that give numbers, times, places of crimes from migrants in these hotels. The Times did a piece saying that the Channel crossing migrants are 24 times more likely to end up in jail. So all of this stuff, and this leaflet was all about it's brainwashing people into believing that migrants are doing this country no harm, when people know that is not the case.
And Jake, as well, just to round us off on this, because there was the other aspect of that monologue I did earlier on. In part, I mean, I just highlighted Leicester there, but I could have done it around Westminster, I could have done it around vast swathes of Britain. 80.4% of that particular part of Leicester there, the social housing was to people who were born outside of Britain. So we've got people pretending to convert to Christianity, people posing as women in the NHS and not being sent to prison, and then we're just giving a load of foreigners social housing.
Look, it should just be a simple rule. If you haven't contributed to this country, you can't have one of our desperately needed social homes. We don't have enough of them. And actually, if we deported people, figures have shown we could release 250,000 houses to people who live in this country, people who have contributed to this country their whole life. That would smash the Labour Party's house-building target out of the park.
In London alone, nearly 50%, 48% of social housing is to a foreign national.
I think there is a serious point here, though, about the contribution. If they are coming here and contributing, they've been here for decades, I think they should be entitled to social housing.
If they are, yeah.
But I think that most of these people will be. They'll probably be retired. Probably they'll have a father or a mother. In Leicester, yeah. They absolutely carried Leicester's industries throughout the 60s, 70s and 80s.
They didn't do it for free, did they?
They absolutely did. You know, they put in lots of tax money.
I would love to go and see that exact bit of...
The Office for Budget Responsibility says low-wage migrants will cost us £150,000.
Well, that's on the bosses that are paying them low wages instead of paying them a proper wage for their labour. That is the point.
It's the entrepreneur's fault. There we go.
We got
True
Jeff-
voice.
Jeff Bezos, an entrepreneur, with his massive warehouse.
I think in light of that, there was maybe that part of Leicester is deserving of a little bit of a report from yours truly. But in response to reports of illegal migrants being baptised in bathtubs at migrant hotels, a Home Office spokesperson told GB News the UK has a proud history of welcoming those who are genuinely fleeing religious persecution. Religious conversions do not guarantee refugee status. All applications are carefully considered on their merits. We actually did approach Durham, Northumbria and Cleveland police and crime commissioners that Carol mentioned there. They've not got back to us, so there you go.